You open your banking app. You've got 100 euros sitting there. Not much, but it's something. You think about investing it, maybe starting to build some wealth, but then the questions start flooding in. Where do I even begin? What platform do I use? What do I actually buy? And then there's taxes. And aren't most investing platforms American anyway? And didn't someone say something about ETFs being banned in Europe? So you close the app, and that 100 euros just sits there, doing nothing, losing value to inflation every single day, while people with the same amount of money, the same starting point, are watching their wealth grow. The difference isn't luck. It's not connections, it's just knowing what to do with those first 100 euros. My name is Leo. I learned investing in the United States, then moved to Europe and spent 9 years figuring out what actually works here. And if you're watching this, you've probably tried to follow American investment advice and discovered nothing works the same way in Europe. Different platforms, different tax rules, different available investments. It's like trying to follow a recipe that's written in cups and ounces when all you have is a scale that measures grams. If you want to stop letting your money sit idle and actually start building wealth in Europe, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. By the end of this video, you're going to know exactly how to invest your first 100 euros, which platform to use, what to buy, and why this matters more than you think. Because here's what nobody tells you about that 100 euros. It's not about the 100. It's about the pattern you're establishing. It's about proving to yourself that you can do this. And it's about understanding something that took me years to figure out. There's a reason some people's money grows while other people's money just evaporates, and it has nothing to do with how much you start with. Let me paint you a picture. There are two types of investments in this world. I call them single engine and twin engine. Think of it like an airplane. A single engine plane has one way to stay in the air. One motor. If that motor fails, you're going down. Gold is a single engine investment. You buy it. You hope the price goes up. That's it. That's your only path to profit. Crypto, same thing. Single engine. You're betting entirely on price appreciation. If the price doesn't go up, you make nothing. Now think about a twin engine plane. Two motors. Two independent systems keeping you in the air. If one fails, you've still got the other one running. Stocks are twin engine investments. You've got price appreciation, sure, but you've also got dividends. You're getting paid just for owning the thing. Real estate, twin engine. The property value goes up over time and you're collecting rent every single month. Two engines. Two paths to profit. Two reasons your wealth grows. And here's where it gets interesting. When you're starting with just 100 euros, you need twin engine investments. Because you can't afford to bet everything on price movement. You need your money working for you in multiple ways simultaneously. You need that compounding machine running on both cylinders. Warren Buffett, the guy who turned $7,000 into more than 100 billion, has said this over and over. For most people, the best investment is a simple index fund, not stock picking, not crypto gambling, not trying to time the market, just a broad index fund that tracks the overall market. And there's a reason he says this. There's research that backs it up in a way that should terrify every financial advisor on the planet. Standard & Poor's publishes something called the SPIVA report every year. It tracks professional fund managers, people who went to fancy schools and have entire teams of analysts, and compares their performance to the S&P 500 index, just the basic index. And here's what they found. Over a 10-year period, 85% of professional fund managers underperform the S&P 500. 85%. These are people whose entire job is to beat the market, and they can't do it. They have Bloomberg terminals and insider connections and decades of experience, and they lose to the index. But it gets better. Researchers at Arizona State University analyzed 90 years of stock market data, 26,000 different stocks, and they discovered something that should change how you think about investing forever. Just 83 stocks, 83 out of 26,000, generated half of all the wealth created in the stock market over that 90-year period. Half, from 83 stocks. Now stay with me here, because this next part is where it all clicks. If just 83 stocks out of 26,000 created half the wealth, what are the odds you're going to pick those 83 stocks? What are the odds your fund manager is going to pick them? What are the odds anyone is going to consistently identify the handful of companies that will drive market returns over the next decade? The odds are terrible. That's why 85% of professionals fail. They're trying to pick the winners, and it's nearly impossible. But here's the thing, you don't need to pick the winners. You just need to own all of them. That's what an index fund does. It owns the entire market. which means it automatically owns those 83 companies that are going to drive returns, along with the 25,917 companies that won't. And mathematically, that's a better bet than trying to guess which is which. Robert Merton won a Nobel Prize in economics, and he said something I think about constantly. The market is smarter than any individual. Trying to outsmart it consistently is a fool's errand. You're not competing against the market. You're competing against millions of other people who are all trying to outsmart the market at the same time. It's an arms race you can't win, so don't try. Just own the market. Ride the wave. Let the twin engines of price appreciation and dividend reinvestment do the work. And here's where the magic really happens. Compound interest. Einstein allegedly called it the eighth wonder of the world. I don't know if he actually said that, but it doesn't matter, because the math is real, and the math is staggering. Let's say you invest 10,000 euros today. You don't touch it. You don't add to it. You just let it sit in an S&P 500 index fund. Historically, the S&P 500 has returned about 9% per year on average over long periods. Some years it's up 30%, some years it's down 20%, but over decades it averages around 9%. So your 10,000 euros sits there earning 9% per year. After year 1, you've got 10,900. After year 2, you've got 11,810. Not just 10,800 because you're earning returns on last year's returns. That's the compound part. After 10 years, your 10,000 has grown to 23,674. You've more than doubled your money without doing anything. But here's where your jaw should drop. After 20 years, that same 10,000 euros has grown to 56,044. You put in 10,000. You now have 56,000. You didn't add a single euro. You just let time and compounding do their thing. That's the twin engine investment working for you. Price appreciation compounding on itself. Dividends getting reinvested and compounding on themselves. Two engines running simultaneously, building wealth while you sleep. And this is why that first 100 euros matters so much. Because if you invest 100 euros today and it grows at 9% for 20 years, you'll have 560 euros. That's nice. But the real value isn't the 560. It's that you've established the pattern. You've proven to yourself that you can do this. And once you've done it with 100, you can do it with 1,000. And then 10,000. And then every month for the next 30 years. That's when the numbers start getting ridiculous. If you've made it this far, you're already ahead of 90% of people. But don't stop now. Because the next part is where we get tactical. I'm going to show you exactly how to do this. Platform, investment, the whole process. Step by step. First, you need to understand something critical about investing in Europe. Most of the popular American ETFs, the ones you hear about on YouTube and Twitter, you can't buy them. SPY, the biggest S&P 500 ETF in the world, can't buy it in Europe. VOO, Vanguard's famous S&P 500 ETF? Nope. QQQ, the Nasdaq tracker? Also no. They're all banned for European retail investors because of something called PRII-PEEPs regulations. The European Union decided that American ETFs don't provide adequate documentation for European investors, so they banned them. Which sounds terrible until you realize it doesn't actually matter, because there are European equivalents of every single one of those funds. They track the same indexes. They have the same holdings. They just have different ticker symbols and slightly different fee structures. You just need to know where to find them. This is where justetf.com becomes your best friend. It's a database of every ETF available to European investors. You can search by index, by region, by sector, whatever you want. And it'll show you every option available, along with fees, performance history, and which platforms you can buy them on. Let's walk through this. You go to justetf.com. You search for S&P 500. It shows you a list of every ETF that tracks the S&P 500 that you can legally buy in Europe. You've got options from iShares, from Vanguard, from Xtrackers. They all track the same index. They all hold the same 500 companies. The main differences are the fees and whether they're accumulating or distributing. Quick sidebar. Accumulating means the dividends get automatically reinvested. The ETF does it for you. Distributing means the dividends get paid out to you as cash, and you have to manually reinvest them if you want to. For most people, accumulating is better. It's automatic. It's tax efficient in many European countries, and it removes the temptation to spend the dividends instead of reinvesting them. So you pick one. Let's say you choose the iShares Core S&P 500 UCITS ETF. It's accumulating. It has low fees, 0.07% per year. And it's huge, which means it's liquid and stable. You've made your choice. Now you need a platform to buy it. This is where Trading212 comes in. It's a European broker, no account minimums, no commission on stock and ETF trades, and this is the key part, fractional shares. You can buy a piece of an ETF with whatever money you have. You don't need to wait until you can afford a full share. If a share costs 150 euros and you only have 100, you can buy 0.66 of a share. The math works out automatically. You download the Trading212 app, you create an account. They'll ask for ID verification, which takes a day or two. Then you fund your account. You can do a bank transfer, which is free but takes a few days. Or you can use a debit card, which is instant but might have a small fee depending on your bank. Your 100 euros hits your Trading212 account. You search for the iShares Core S&P 500 ETF. The ticker symbol is CSPX if you want to search it directly. It pops up. You click on it. You see the current price, the chart, all the details. You click buy. Here's where it gets beautiful. You don't have to calculate how many shares you can afford. You just enter 100 euros. The platform automatically calculates how many shares that buys you, including fractional shares. Maybe the share price is 450 euros. Your 100 euros buys you 0.22 of a share. That's fine. That 0.22 share behaves exactly the same as a full share. It grows at the same rate. It pays the same proportional dividends. You own a slice of 500 American companies. Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, all of them, with 100 euros. You click confirm. The trade executes, and you're done. You're an investor. You own a piece of the American stock market, and that piece is going to grow. Now, let's talk about what happens next, because this is where most people mess it up. They invest 100 euros. They check the app the next day. Oh, it's down to 98. They panic. They sell. They lock in a 2 euro loss, and they tell themselves investing doesn't work. Here's the thing, the market goes down sometimes. Actually, the market goes down a lot. In any given year, the S&P 500 will experience multiple pullbacks of 5 to 10%. It's normal, it's not a crisis, it's just the market doing what the market does. And if you sell during those dips, you turn a temporary paper loss into a permanent real loss. John Bogle, the guy who invented the index fund, wrote a book called The Little Book of Common Sense Investing. And in it, he tells people to stop checking their accounts. Stop obsessing over daily movements. You're not a day trader. You're a long-term investor. Daily price movements are noise. What matters is what happens over years and decades. If you invest at 100 euros and the market drops 15% next month, you haven't lost anything. You still own the same slice of 500 companies. Those companies are still making products, still generating revenue, still innovating. The price dropped because of sentiment, because of fear, because of some macro event that has nothing to do with the fundamental value of the companies you own. And in 6 months, or a year, or 2 years, the price will recover. It always has. Over every single long-term period in stock market history, the market has gone up. The S&P 500 has survived the Great Depression, World War II, the oil crisis of the 70s, the dot-com crash, the 2008 financial crisis, COVID, and every single time it came back stronger. If you had invested 10,000 euros at the peak right before the 2008 crash, the absolute worst possible timing, and just held it, you'd still have more than 30,000 euros today. Because you didn't panic, you didn't sell. You let the twin engines keep running. Now let me tie all of this together, because when you see how these pieces connect, everything changes. You're not just investing 100 euros. You're building a system. You're proving to yourself that you can override the fear, that you can ignore the noise, that you can think in decades instead of days. And once you've done it with 100, you can do it with 100 every month. That's where the real wealth building happens. 100 euros per month invested at 9% annual returns turns into 22,000 euros after 10 years. After 20 years, it's 67,000. After 30 years, it's 204,000. You didn't get a windfall. You didn't win the lottery. You just put aside 100 euros a month and let compounding do the work. That's the power of the twin engine investment combined with time and consistency. But here's the reality check. Taxes. Europe is a tax nightmare for investors. Every country has different rules. Some countries tax dividends, some tax capital gains, some have wealth taxes, some have all three, and the rates vary wildly. Germany taxes capital gains at 25% plus solidarity surcharge. France has a flat tax of 30% on investment income. Ireland has 33% on ETF gains. The Netherlands has a wealth tax system that's completely different from everyone else. I can't cover every country's tax system in this video. It would take hours. But what I can tell you is this. In most European countries, accumulating ETFs are more tax efficient than distributing ones, because you're not getting taxed on dividends every year. The gains just accumulate inside the fund, and you only pay tax when you eventually sell, which could be decades from now. By then, you've had years of tax-free compounding working for you. I've put links in the description to resources for specific countries, tax guides, Reddit communities, forums where people break down the exact rules for Germany, France, Spain, Italy, all the major countries. You need to understand your specific situation, but don't let tax complexity stop you from starting. The tax on investment gains is still way better than the tax on earned income in most European countries, and paying tax on gains means you made gains. That's a good problem to have. We're in the home stretch, and I've saved something important for the end. Because everything I've told you, the twin engine concept, the index fund strategy, the compound interest math, all of it is useless if you don't actually do it. Knowledge without action is just entertainment. You've watched the video, you understand the concepts. Now you have to prove to yourself that you can execute. That 100 euros sitting in your bank account right now, it's a test. Not a test of whether you have enough money, you do. It's a test of whether you're willing to override your fear and your excuses and your need for perfection. Because you're never going to feel completely ready. There's never going to be a perfect moment. The market's always going to feel too high or too scary or too volatile. That feeling never goes away. Successful investors just act anyway. Open the Trading212 app, fund the account, buy the ETF. Do it today. Not tomorrow. Not next week when you've done more research. Today. Because every day you wait is another day your money loses value to inflation. Every day you wait is another day of compound interest you're giving up, and you can't get those days back. Your future self, the one who's financially secure, the one who doesn't panic when an unexpected bill arrives, the one who has options, is counting on you to start today. That version of you exists, but only if you build them, and you build them 100 euros at a time. Now, I know taxes are complicated and every country is different. I've put together resources for specific European countries in the description below, and I want to hear from you. What's your biggest obstacle to investing right now? Is it fear? Confusion about platforms? Tax concerns? Drop it in the comments. Because the more I understand what's holding you back, the better I can make videos that actually help. That's what this channel is for. Real answers for real people trying to build wealth in Europe. You came here with 100 euros and a lot of questions. You're leaving with a platform, an investment, and a system. The only question left is whether you're going to use it. Your future millionaire self already knows the answer.